This is the one of the doors that still has trim on it. The other door doesn't have any trim, and the bottom edge of it's rusted out, so I'm going to have to replace that. This is that's the original black paint there. There's a bit of rust here, so I don't know, it doesn't look that good. The door shell itself might be fine, but until I take off the trim I won't really know. This has been recovered at some point, and here is the original underneath. You can see the original colour, which is sort of a bricky red colour, and now the stitch lines. So I have to take this off and have a look at what's going on underneath there, really. And this will be quite good to be used for patterns for the new panels, which I'm hoping to make up myself. And here's the door stripped of all its panels and everything. It appears on the face of it to be quite good. I'm not totally convinced, but it appears to be not bad. You can see the wooden strip here, which is in there to fix the trim to. This car was originally black, as we know, and you'll notice that there is a red brushed area all around this opening. The car had red trim, and I really think that was done in the factory. I know there's been a little bit of discussion I've come across on this, but it does appear to me to be original, and it appears to be brush painted, and I think it was done in the factory just so that there wouldn't be a black line there, but a red line, which would blend in well with the trim. So the door appears to be okay. Doesn't have, the bottom section's quite good, but I'm not, I don't know if you can see, I'm not totally convinced, because there is some rust in there, and while it hasn't come through, it may in the future. So I think I might end up cutting out the bottom of this door. Well, it appears to be, see, it's not bad, but I might end up, I think, cutting out the bottom section of this door and fitting a new piece in. I'm not sure whether I'll try and make a piece or not. This appears to have a very, very, very slight curve along the bottom, which matches the curve on the bottom of the sills here. One of the other problems I've got is that this sill, which, as I said before, I fitted when the chassis was on the rotisserie, and I really should have waited. It doesn't quite line up. The gap at the bottom is not even. Whereas if I do put a new bottom on this door, I can at least use that to make the door to fit the opening a little bit better. We're only talking about 2 or 3 mil, 1/16 of an inch, maybe an 1/8 of an inch at the most of difference, but that might be a way around that. Otherwise I'm probably going to have to remove the sill or alter the sill in some way, which is a little bit tricky. Everything else fits well here. I've noticed one thing with a white car: it does get very dirty, even sitting in the shed and even being covered. It gets very dusty, but that's no big deal, I suppose. So I think the next step, the other door is about the same, but the bottom of the other door is very rusty. In fact, you can probably just see a little bit of that rust through there on that side, and in fact it has got holes in it, so there's no question about that. I'll have to replace the bottom of that door. This one, it's a shame because it appears to be okay, but I do think that some rust might come through in the future, so it's probably best to do that. So I'll start on this door here, which in Australia is the driver's door on the right hand side, and we'll see how we go. I'm probably going to also have to make some of these. I can now handle this with one hand. I need a camera assistant, I think. It's caught on that little wooden thing. The other thing I'm probably going to make is a new base across the bottom here, because that surface rust there isn't brilliant, and in fact there is a little hole just there where it's rusted through, so I'm going to have to think about how I attack this. I think I can make a new bottom piece like that. I don't think that's too difficult, but how I weld it in is the question. So that's the next challenge. Well, I've cut off the outside sections of this door and cut the skin off below that line you can see just there. I agonised, or I tried to work out how to cut these off, because originally I thought I would bend the underside back round, but that sort of seemed a bit pointless, and I finally figured out that if I just ground off the edges all the way along, I could then just pull them off, and there's a bit of an edge there which is still attached, and then the door panel would lift off. Interestingly, these were spot welded here and here, and I used my spot weld cutter to cut that out. So now I can just lift that out, and you can see that it really was quite rusty on there. It hadn't gone through, but you know, it might in the future. So I think it's probably a good idea to take care of that. In here, again, quite a bit of surface rust around this area. I don't think anything too serious. Same with this side here. If necessary, I can make up a little piece that will weld into there. This bottom section here is, it probably looks worse than it is. Some of the rust there is pretty thick. I obviously haven't tried to clean it up. It might clean up, but I decided I would replace that anyway. So I've ordered a couple of these, one for each side of the door, from Kilmartin's, and also door skin repairs, patch panels. These doors have, I think I said before, have a very slight curve on the bottom, which matches the outer sill curve in these cars, and the ones produced by Kilmartin have the curves both in the sill and in the door to match. I may end up cutting this up higher. The received wisdom is that you cut just underneath that swage line, which then gives a nice sort of door replacement piece for most of the door section. So that's the next step. I ordered those today, and hopefully they'll be here in a few days. And here is the other door, the passenger side door in Australia, driver's side door in the US of A. And you can see this one is a lot worse. That's rusted out completely along the bottom there, so that'll be replaced. I've ordered another one of those as well. The inside on this door has, you probably can't really see, but there are a few holes in there. If I lift it up there, no, I can't see, but it has gone right through. So that's got to be repaired, there's no question about that. So both doors are going to get new bottoms and new outer skins below the swage line. You can see in here, just as a point of interest, this is a piece of timber which is fitted inside this steel runner. There's a little screw on the top there which holds it in place. Just there, and the purpose of this is really just to fix the inner linings of the door too, so they can just be screwed onto that piece of timber. That's original, and I'll be leaving that in place. And you can see the original black colour of the car and the hand brushed red area around the perimeter of the door opening. All very interesting, and I believe to be original, because when this car was resprayed the inner panels weren't done. So there we go. Well, my pieces from Kilmartin's have arrived. This one is the bottom of the door base, which is very nicely made and which fits somewhere up into that section in there to replace the rusted out panel, so I'm going to have to work out how to get that in, but I have great faith that it will fit. It appears to be, as I say, beautifully made, like most of their stuff, and I know I bang on about Kilmartins a bit, and I've got no vested interest in the company, but they are terrific, and it's good to deal with an Australian company who are reliable and make a first-class product. The check's in the mail, Greg, I hope. No, I'm just joking. And here are the door repair pieces for the left and right doors. They're a considerable size. They've got the nice curve in them, and I don't know whether it's really visible, but there is a slight, you can just see a slight curve on the bottom of the door there. As I say, that's to match the curve in the sill. So the next difficulty, well, really challenge, is to see if I can fit these, and I think I will take the weld up the door as far as I can, because it's going to give me a very nice clean piece of steel which won't need any filler or anything apart from on the weld to paint. So that will be quite nice to work on, so I'll see how I go with that. But the first step really is to replace the bottoms of both the doors. Well, I've done something a little different here, because I have this little air tool that I bought a while ago, and it's they're not that expensive and readily available. This has a little hole punch here which punches out I think it's a 5/16 hole, which I can use for plug welding, and this other side here, as you can see, is what we call a jodler, and it closes up like that. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with this, but basically what you do is you put your steel in there, and you sort of work along. I'm trying to do this and operate the camera, so it's a bit difficult, but you can see it actually does a little rebate on there and leaves you about 1 millimetre, so you can then slide another piece of steel across the top. I'm probably not explaining that very well, but what I've done is I've used it on this here, just for a bit of a change. I normally butt weld everything, but this little piece here that I've cut out, I've done that edge on there, if you can make it out. So what it does is it gives me about a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch rebate along the length of that, and then what I can do is fit this in place like that, underneath there, and that gives me a nice solid edge there, and when this is welded, this will be fairly well flat, and being as it's only the inside of the car, inside of the door, where it's not that noticeable once it's covered, I think that's probably okay. I've never really used this on panel work, but you can. I prefer to just do butt welding on panel work, and you obviously can't use it on any panels that are curved. So what I'll probably do now is punch a couple of holes here in a couple of places and just spot weld this in place, and then probably seam weld across there. And this fits. This is good. This fits really well. So I'm pleased with that, and that's the bottom of the new door. And once that's done, then I'll put the door back onto the car and work out how to cut the door skin, which is tricky.